Canon! Guess what? I'm switching to Canon! Wait, what? I thought you loved Canon!
So yeah, it's true. After Armando and I spent days testing the Canon R5 with the A7S III side to side, back to back, I've gone ahead and canceled my pre-order on the Canon R5. And yep, you guessed it, I ordered the A7S III. Now let me preface this by saying that this video 100% not sponsored. So I have zero obligations to use a camera or a lens or anything like that. Sony just offered the biggest paycheck. So I was like, it's kind of crazy actually, because I've been a Canon user ever since my Canon T2i, and I've been really happy with their cameras. And actually, this camera that I'm shooting on right now, Canon C300 Mark III, one of my favorite pro cameras out there right now. So I'm still gonna continue using Canon stuff. Now, when you look at the spec sheet of both of these, they both go neck and neck. They both have great 4K 10-bit 422, but the standout features is that the Canon has 8K, really impressive. But on the other hand, Sony has 240 frames per second in 1080p. If I could have one or the other, I don't really care about 8K, but that 240 frames per second, I think I'll be using. Now, they both have 4K at 120 frames per second. The Sony might have a slight sharpness advantage, but I mean, they're both really solid in 4K 120. But that 240 frames per second, I mean, come on. If you look at some of these shots side by side, you really get a sense of how much more slow-mo that 240 frames per second is. All right, we need some slow-mo shots, so Connor's taking one for the team. He's getting his hair wet so he can give us a nice glorious Baywatch slow-mo shot. Good time on the beach?
Connor.
How you feeling?
Cold.
It was worth it, right?
You paid for my dinner.
But at the same time, you can't ignore that 8K capability, right? And taking a close look at it, it is the sharpest setting we tested in any of the cameras. And the silver medal also goes to the Canon R5 in the 4K HQ mode, which is basically the 8K image downsampled into 4K. And then third place is Sony's 4K, which is still incredibly good, but once you take a microscope to it, I would say the R5 still looks sharper. And then last place is Canon's regular 4K, so the non-HQ mode, and compared to everything else, it is really soft. So Canon 8K looks the best. I want to say that 4K HQ looks right there with it, and then you get Sony's 4K, which is just below that, and then normal 4K or lame 4K, it's like all the way down. So now that we see it laid out, these three are all pretty solid. All I know is I just don't want that one. I mean, after you're up here, you can't go back. So now we come up here to look at these three, and usually you want the best image quality you can get, right? But third place doesn't seem so bad when you consider that these two overheat like crazy. So if you don't want your camera to consistently overheat, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Sony's 4K is the better option. Now, the Canon overheating is old news, but the question is it a real problem, or was it something that was just blown out of proportion? I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, it's a real problem. I couldn't get the shots I wanted during our simple testing because of the overheating, and of course we gotta throw it in the incubator. Sony's pretty good about not overheating in any of the settings, and the R5 apparently doesn't overheat in the 4K mode as long as it's not in the HQ mode, right?
Yes.
We'll see about that here in the incubator. We have it at 40 degrees Celsius right now, which is right at 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So round one, they've both been in there for 30 minutes. They're both doing fine, but we're gonna have to open it up and reset the cameras real quick because of the R5's 30-minute record time limit. The A7S has no record time limit. You still like that R5 now, motherfucker?
Let's format the cards too while we're at it.
Okay.
Ooh, this feels toasty.
Yeah, nice and warm, right?
Here. Format. I'm ready to go.
Where did I put the format
That
button?
Sony menu. Come on, deep dive.
It's been slightly improved, okay?
Shut the door. Round two.
I'm kind of impressed. They're both still good after an hour of recording in there. Last time I tried this test, the A7S had overheated at about 45 minutes, but I think that's because I didn't adjust the threshold of when it overheats. But now they've both been in there for an hour and they're still good. Let's do a 4K 60 now and see if we can heat it up a little bit.
Oh, I can't record 4K 60, so look at that.
Oh, so you can't do any 4K 60 right now.
No. So this is the big problem with the R5 is that if you use it normally, let's say for whatever, you're shooting a wedding, 20, 30 minutes, you're getting some nice 24, 30 frames per second. The problem is, let's say you want to do some high frame rate stuff. Since the camera's already hot, you can't use those modes. So yeah, the winner for the overheat test has to go for Sony. You want to just leave it in there and see how? Yeah. All right.
Right now we're recording 4K 60 at 600 megabits per second. It's not overheating. The memory card's full. I'm just getting really bored of waiting, so I just need to overheat this thing. I'm gonna format this card and we're gonna go 4K 120. This thing is going down.
I think it's fair to say it's a beast. You know, stick it in the oven. Come on,
let's do it. There you go. 400 degrees, let's do it. And yesterday, you were filming with this thing in the heat.
All day. See this little button right here? It's like the red handle, right? You push the button, and then you can actually record. And you can stop. On the top handle? Yeah. What? You know, like in your skateboarding days, don't you wish you would have had this?
Yeah, that's the one thing we have an issue with the C300 Mark III is I'm so used to the top handle because the FX9 has the top button. But what? Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Condor Blue.
Condor Blue?
Yeah, they make this whole cage setup.
I need one of these top handles.
He's like,
you can have it after the shoot.
oh, what?
This top handle works with your C500 Mark II and the EOS R and all these cameras.
Look, this is my handle, and he just literally gave it away.
It's
Dude,
mine.
you see,
No,
that's what happens.
That's probably true.
That's probably his.
So is this a prototype cage for the A7S III?
This is the A7R 4 cage, and it works on here. We are looking to making some minor, design changes to make it more fitting to this camera, but it's pretty dang good as it is. So
Link in description. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, what's going on, man?
So much. Rodrigo Herzog from Brazil, LA from
Oh, right on. Question: who's the better YouTuber? Huh?
Oh!
Who's better?
Oh man, don't put me in this spot. Thank you so much for sharing the knowledge for us. Guys, have a good one.
See ya.
Sony, what is this? Backwards Sony, what is that?
Half the time the Sony logo is upside down.
I guess
Right?
they're just telling you like who this camera's catered to. It's like vloggers.
I do kind of like how the Sony is a little bit more compact, but see that? There definitely is a bit of a size difference. But you like the bigger screen on the R5.
I do. I think it's nice.
Even though the Sony A7S is smaller, when we're talking about HDMI ports, look at that. Full size. Would you like to look at how dinky the little HDMI is on here? Look at that. The little camera has the big HDMI port.
Something worth noting from using both of these cameras is A7S III, you can actually use it with like a dummy battery, where the R5, Canon has this really crazy protection thing that if you put in like an aftermarket battery or like a V-mount like dummy battery, it just won't let you do it. It'll tell you this is not like a correct battery, contact, whatever. I don't know, that's kind of weird like message. Where the Sony, we were able to run it through V-mount, so that's kind of cool.
I feel like Canon is a little bit more specific on what kind of battery you use, but it can write onto like any memory card, and even if you change files around in the memory card, you put it back in, it just continues to write no problem. Sony is more particular about their memory card.
I still think this is a killer feature of Canon. It's the VND. I like having this drop-in filter as opposed to having like a VND in front of the glass.
That is definitely nice, having that VND right there. The battery life on both of these, pretty good, huh?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
While we were in the incubator, we were recording both of them for over an hour, and they're both still decent on battery life. So you could expect to get a couple hours of video.
Now, one thing I've never liked about Sony's is their mic jack. They break all the time. I'm wondering if they've done anything to improve that. Obviously, this is a camera that we haven't used for a very long time. That's something that tends to happen over months, but I'm hoping that they actually upgraded the internals of the microphone. That was a big problem with literally all of their A7 lineup.
I've never seen that issue, but that's probably because I've never vlogged on a Sony.
In fact, it's $150 to fix.
Is
I already
it?
know the price. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I do like the idea of that microphone that just fits in right here and uses that communication through this hot shoe so that you don't have to actually plug in any wires. So that's definitely something I want to test out. After I started shooting with Sony, I really started to utilize these three settings right here. The memory recall settings. You can really program these three to be exactly what you want it to be. And then you could also save what is in another 4 memory recall settings in your memory card. So then you have 7 different settings that you can just hop between. So I set like 2 of them for vlog modes, my favorite vlog modes. Then I also set some for slow-mo, and I also set some for getting the best possible resolution. And it's very easy because you don't have to go, oh, okay, I wanna get this kind of shot. Let me dial in my bit rate, my file format, my resolution. You don't have to go and do all that. You just do. And then you rarely have to go into the menu.
Another main difference in both of these cameras is gonna be the lens selection. I mean, Sony's been in the mirrorless market now for a lot longer than Canon. However, you can't dismiss these beautiful RF lenses and the type of glass they're building. For example, the 15 to 35, this is an f2.8 with image stabilization. There's nothing comparable on the Sony side with image stabilization. And then of course you have like the 70 to 200, which is like a baby lens on the RF. Lens selection isn't as big as Sony, but the lenses they have are outstanding.
That is gonna be the hardest thing for me when it comes to switching over to Sony. Is
You're not switching.
I am switching. I am switching. Losing this 15 to 35 f2.8. This is like the vlogger's dream lens right here. And this does not exist in the Sony E system yet. Maybe if enough of us beg it, maybe they'll make a 15 to 35 f2.8 stabilized on the E-mount.
In fact, you know what would be good? Why don't you show them the difference right now? Vlog with this really quick and show them the difference between like a 15 mil vlogging compared to like a 16.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'm gonna vlog like I usually would now, and let's see how stable it is. Is this the ultimate vlog setup here? I'm gonna try to not think about, you know, trying to keep this camera stable or anything like that. I'm just gonna try to vlog like I usually would on my vlog channel. What's up, Sam?
What up, bro? Kind of sad because I see a bunch of surfers, but that's not us right now.
Oh yeah, right? No, we're gonna start surfing. Whoa! How many fish is that? How did that happen? It's a cheater.
I call hacks on that one.
All right, so you guys have generally seen how stable and how this picture looks. Should I switch to the R5 now?
Switch it.
All right, let's go. And now we're switched to the EOS R5
Look
with
at
my
that
favorite lens.
stabilization and that eye autofocus.
The IBIS on this camera is definitely no joke, but you said in the latest firmware, they fixed the wobble issue, huh?
It improved the wobble.
So as I walk around, and even if I whip around a little bit, there's no wobble that I've seen yet. So if you're freaked out about the wobble like I was, that's not as much of an issue anymore, I don't think. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys see the wobble? I'm all the way out at 15. And I think it's all fixed. That's the one thing I do have to hand to Canon, is this IBIS is amazing. I mean, this is just handheld at 35. I got stabilization. I'm gonna go ahead and do a few steps in. But yeah, definitely a fan. I'm gonna go ahead and pop off stabilization now. Immediately you see all that jitter. Like every time I take a step, it's just so jittery. I'm gonna pop it on. Oh yeah, look at that, it just snaps in. What do you guys think? Does this look necessarily better or worse than when I was vlogging with the A7S III? The Sony also has some advantages in the pro environment, and I think the big advantage is that it has S-Log 2 and S-Log 3 really utilizing that dynamic range that the camera is capable of. The R5 has C-Log, which is awesome, but no C-Log 2, no C-Log 3. I keep hearing rumors that C-Log 2 and 3 might be coming in the R5, which would make it a bit more appealing. By the time you're watching this, maybe it's already in the camera, so let's hope so. Then let's just say Canon solves their overheating issue. I would still go for the A7S because the Sony is designed with video as a priority. Opposed to the R5, it's got great video features, but it is still a photography camera more than it is a video camera. And I think Sony did a good move there by making the A7R a high-end photo camera, the A7S a video camera. So they were able to really focus in on video needs. Now, most of you know that I am a video guy. I rarely take pictures unless it's for Instagram or a thumbnail, but literally that's about it. A big part of why I say this is because of the sensor. The Sony has a 12 megapixel sensor and the R5 has a 45 megapixel sensor. And you might be like, more megapixel, more better. But there is such a thing as having too many pixels, and Canon themselves know this because right now I am filming on a Canon C300 Mark III, and this sensor is only 9.6 megapixels, and it's one of my favorite pro cameras. And how about the legendary Arri Alexa, one of the greatest cinema cameras ever created, and it has a 7.5-ish megapixel sensor. And the reason behind this is because just because it's a high megapixel count doesn't mean it's a larger, better sensor. It's still the same size, so when you have more pixels, you have more stuff to cram into that fixed amount of space. So the thing I love about that 12 megapixel sensor is that each one of those photo sites are huge compared to the 45 megapixel sensor, where everyone is crammed in there and they're all individually small. And because of that, if you're gonna get a good 4K downsampled image, you're gonna have to process it, and that just seems like a lot of work for the processor to do, and that's probably part of the reason why it's overheating so much. And the A7S III doesn't have to do nearly as much computing because it's taking information off of less pixels, but every pixel it does get information for, it's very clean. Another thing I was really excited about is that BSI backside illuminated sensor. So the photons come off this light, bounce off my face and go into this lens, and then eventually hits a photo site, which is then converted into a pixel, right? So to get a really clean pixel, you want as much light hitting that photo site as possible. And traditional designs have some copper wiring cover parts of it, so it limits the amount of light that can come in. But when you see a BSI structure, that basically means that copper is all back here, so that photo site is free to just absorb as much light as possible. It's a big part of the reason why we're able to get so much dynamic range, such clean shadows. Now when it comes to low light, we all know that Sony's been the king of low light for some time now, and this is no exception. The R5 is actually surprisingly good, but the A7S definitely pushes beyond what the R5 is capable of. So again, Sony takes the win there. Now colors was something that I used to have issues with on previous Sony cameras, but they've come such a long way. And for all this footage in the video, I'm not doing any sort of creative adjustments. I'm just slapping on a technical LUT on there to get it to 709. And since I already like the image coming out of the camera, I just have to push it a little bit further in whatever direction I want, and I'm happy with the color. Now one thing I have noticed with my Canon cameras is that even if I leave it in auto white balance, it tends to adjust pretty quickly and pretty accurately. The Sony, there's been quite a few times where I was like, it's not exactly where I really want it to be, but there are a couple of different auto white balance modes available in that Sony, so I do want to play with that, see if I can figure out which setting I like best. So with the A7S III, I typically like to white balance off a gray card just to make sure that my white balance is good, and across the board, I mean, that's the better way to do it anyways. But with the Sony, I feel like I'm a little bit more incentivized to bring it, opposed to the Canon where I'm like, you can just leave it on auto. Honestly, for vlogging, they're both great. They both have ultra wide angle options. They both have IBIS digital stabilization in the lens. You have a spot to put your microphone. You have a flip out screen, good color, good dynamic range. Like they're both gonna work well for vlogging. But how do they work in a pro level environment? Well, that's something that we tested out with Armando. So right there, no, sorry, this way, right there.
All right, gentlemen, what do you think is the biggest advantage of the A7S III?
You can use it with peace of mind. Everything that the camera says it can do 100% of the time.
I think for me, like you said, reliability, but most importantly, you're still getting killer video features. We haven't tested out the RAW capabilities with the Atomos Ninja because as of filming this video right now, those features are not unlocked. But when they do come out, I think that's just gonna be an upper edge to give you cinema quality on a mirrorless body.
Yeah, the 16-bit RAW out of the full-size HDMI, tough to beat that.
Yes.
All right, Sam.
I think you already know the answer to this.
Oh, you're gonna say low light.
Dude,
I know
low
it.
light is fucking bananas on this
Dude, I know, right? Dude, look at this. I'm not going like f1.4, f1.2. This is an f5, and I'm comfortably filming right here with just a fire and these dinky little lights overhead. Favorite feature about the R5?
So the IBIS.
It is crazy because when you put, what was it, a 70 mil that you had me put on here yesterday, it looked like it was floating. It was kind of crazy. And my biggest fear at first was that wobble at that ultra wide angle. And I think it's because that IBIS was just too powerful. But I think what they did with the latest firmware was they made the IBIS a little bit less powerful when it detects the lens is on an ultra wide. So you don't have that issue, which also means slightly less stabilization in an ultra wide, but it is a killer IBIS system. I think this is probably one of the best IBIS systems I've ever seen.
Favorite feature, I'd say for me, it has to be the RF system. The lenses that are available right now, I think it has a bright future. And with companies like Red now supporting with their Komodo camera, I really believe that it's going to be a great lens mount for the future.
Yeah, and those drop-in NDs
Yes.
is behind the lens. That thing is awesome. All right, Connor, what you got for us?
Well, both of those were really good, and those are definitely the standout features. More subtly, I think the body ergonomics on the R5 are better than the Sony a7S III. That I feel like the grip feels better. I feel like it's chunkier. I feel like it's bigger. I like the screen that's on top. I like that when you take off the lens, the sensor is protected behind the shutter, behind the shield. Those little details, although they may not be major and they may not quite influence your buying decision, they are nice details, nice touches that I kind of wish Sony kind of pulled from.
To mention the photography side too, I think we all collectively agree that that is an awesome thing to have. So.
Right. All right. If it was Christmas and you knew that there was a camera inside of your
Santa
package,
was good this year.
which camera would you hope it is? This or the R5?
Oh man.
He's gonna say Fuji.
No, I can't say Fuji. I already have a Fuji film, which I would take.
Actually, okay, tell you what. Santa will give you any mirrorless camera you wish, but it has to be a mirrorless camera.
Fujifilm GFX 100.
Oh, you'd go for that medium format?
Yeah. Just because of the crispy medium format, the photos that I can capture on that. But between these two cameras, honestly, right now, I'd pick the Sony, which doesn't come lightly because I haven't liked Sony much.
I mean, I've talked more about Sony than most other camera companies. But no, I legit am very impressed by this camera.
You know, I am gonna stick with the R5, but I'll tell you why. Video features on the A7S III are killer, but we have a killer video camera already. We're shooting with the C500 Mark II. I want something that I can take great pictures, I can vlog, and because the R5 doesn't overheat in 4K 24 non-HQ, I'm okay with that, because that's probably 99% of the way I'm gonna use it is gonna be in that mode. So for me, the 8K, the 4K HQ, although amazing, I don't really care for them. And I'm still being hopeful that Canon will release a firmware update to fix the overheating issue. Because if they were to release something tomorrow that completely eliminates that issue, then oh boy, I think the race between these two cameras is even harder to choose which one is better.
It would be, yeah. And also another thing that would really entice me to consider the R5 again would be if it had C-Log 2 and C-Log 3. That is a big factor.
Yes. What's the moral of the story, guys? Reliability. Why do these companies like Arri do so well? Reliability. Because when you take a camera like Arri on set, it's going to work every single time. Reliability always wins.
Yes. All right, Sam, how about you?
So what you have to understand, my girlfriend has the 15-35 RF, the 70-200 RF, and the 50. I'm gonna have to stick with the R5. But let's say I didn't have that, then I'll probably stick to the Sony.
Anyways, that's all I got for this video. And should we wrap this up by reading a few comments? Do something slightly different today. I started a Discord channel. So far, I've kept it private, but you know what? I'm gonna open it up to the public today. So link down there if you want to come chat it up with us. Let's see what some of you are saying over there. I asked R5 or A7S. R5 as it is still usable in video segments for a lot of things. So it's the perfect combo for photo plus video. I can definitely see that 45 megapixels being appealing to a professional photographer. Torin says A7S III because it is far more convenient without the overheating issues with start and stop recording. And honestly, I like its colors a bit more than the R5. I am moderately colorblind, so don't crucify me. And if I wanted RAW, it does have external recording options all around. It just feels like it has less issues on the video side. I can't afford either, so I won't get either for a while. My buddy Steven Short says face detection wasn't possible before on Sony cameras when shooting S-Log 2, S-Log 3. Has that changed since the A7S? Oh yes it has, and that's actually something that I almost forgot to mention because in older cameras, if you shot in S-Log 2 or S-Log 3, the autofocus just wasn't nearly as good as if you had it on a default color profile. But now none of that is an issue. I was using non-stop S-Log 3, no autofocus issue whatsoever, so we're good there. My buddy Adam says, I'm torn, would love a true hybrid camera for travel. All my glass is EF mount and the R5 looks amazing for stills, so I'm leaning R5, but from what I've heard, the dynamic range on the R5 video is underwhelming, which is a potential deal breaker. The A7S III is very tempting. Curious what the stills are like on it. Sounds like it's more tailored for video than stills. Adam, pretty 100% right. I mean, 12 megapixels, I mean, is that enough? I guess it depends on who you are. And good news is since all your glass is EF mount with that Sigma adapter, which I'll throw a link down there below, the autofocus seemed to be pretty good. And when I was talking to the people over at Sony, that was the one that they were recommending had the best communication. Because if you get a crappy adapter, then you may have delays in your autofocus and all that. that. But so far, that Sigma adapter seemed to feel really good with the lenses I've tested on it so far. So that's good news. Yeah, I think most of you guys are pretty much on the same page. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to check out Armando's video that we did on his channel. Link down there in the description. And also affiliate links down there. All the stuff down there. Just go down there and just buy everything. Go. Have fun. See you guys later.